Forspoken is an action RPG with a fluid parkour system and satisfying magic spells. I enjoy the game overall, but have some reservations that I'd like to delve into for this review. I should also quickly mention that Square Enix supplied me with a review copy for this game, but it does not affect my opinion whatsoever. I'll start by talking about the game's strengths, which begin with its movement system. Running around the world feels great, and although the environments can feel a little bit soulless at times, your high speed and ability to effortlessly scale obstacles feels awesome. I also really liked that although your character is very powerful, you can't just run up any wall you see like in other similar games, which encourages you to think and interact while you navigate. I found combat to be very enjoyable as well. You have a bunch of aggressive spells to use that will be doing the bulk of your damage. Some are better for long range, while others are better at knocking enemies down, and so on. You also have defensive abilities, like buffing your damage in a certain area around you, cleansing negative effects, or spawning allies. Combining these two spell types is easy to do, and I found it really gratifying throughout combat. In addition to the main battle loop, you can also build up huge devastating attacks as well as dodge and counter, all of which keep you active constantly. I found the juggling act to be really exciting. At some point I thought I had finally unlocked all of the abilities, only to find out that I currently only had access to one of the spell trees, and that I had dozens of more spells to unlock later on. By the end, you actually have so much to play around with depending on your preferred playstyle. It's great. On top of combat, I found my power increase to be incredibly satisfying and consistent. I felt like I was constantly upgrading something, whether it be a permanent stat boost from completing a landmark in the world, enchanting my gear with certain buffs, upgrading traits by painting my nails, which I found really unique, or completing challenges for my spells that permanently improve my magic proficiency. Forspoken does a great job at always rewarding you with an increase in power. As for exploring the world that this all takes place in, I found it a little bit bland at times. It's not the prettiest, which I suppose is the point since the world was destroyed, but still. Exploring can feel a little bit barren at times. Although you're always bombarded with something to do, like an enemy in front of you, or a treasure chest to open, materials to grab, or an objective to complete, but it does feel shallow at times. The good combat and movement definitely helped keep me interested, because after a while the optional dungeons and combat encounters do become a little bit samey. Okay, what about the story? Well, it's okay. You play as Frey, who although can be a little bit cold at times, is by no means as unlikable as many people assumed she'd be based off the initial trailers. When taking in the story with the full context and seeing her experiences, her jaded personality is a little bit more understandable. With that said, I will say that I didn't find her all that likable either. I did end up rooting for her, and it's nice to see her development as a character sometimes, but earlier in the game, she did make it difficult sometimes to fully care. This isn't helped by the Cuff that accompanies and talks to you, who is also a bit of a smartass. They have a bit of a frenemies thing going on, and it kinda gets old sometimes, but I did enjoy the overall arc of their relationship and Frey's story as she evolves. Something that didn't fare as well were the side quests. I didn't think they were really worth doing at all. They're quite generic, and navigating the city and talking to everyone in between chapters can be a bit of a slog. I'm a completionist, so I pushed myself to do it, but I did find myself skimming side quest dialogue in the end. The whole game gets better as you progress, including the story. Things get more interesting, characters become more likable, and you get more abilities to play around with. It's got a bit of a slower start, which I still found fun, but it really opens up after beating the first real boss. As a side note, I'd like to commend the game's great options menu. You can tweak so many small details to cater the game to your preference, including disabling annoying lock puzzles, customizing difficulty, and of course, changing graphics options to help the game run better. Speaking of which, on my 2070 Super GPU, I've actually had decent performance, considering. There were occasional slowdowns when the number of particles got insane, but nothing unplayable, and I never had a glitch or crash. I know that others are having it worse though, so I thought it was worth mentioning briefly that there are some performance issues right now. As usual, I assume this will improve with a few patches after release. Okay, in conclusion though, I honestly enjoyed Forspoken way more than I thought I was going to. My main issue with the game is just the asking price. The game doesn't earn its increased €80 price tag or your regional equivalent. It's not better than other games priced at the typical 60. Overall, I recommend the game, but not at its current price. I suggest waiting for a sale as it'll be more performant and worth the content, unless you love what you see and just need to grab it right now. Underneath the flaws, the game is genuinely fun. The movement is freeing, I enjoy the soundtrack, collecting weird fantasy cats for my safe houses, upgrading my character constantly, and playing around with a wide variety of relatively unique and satisfying spells. It was honestly just a really good time. And with that said, I hope this review was useful to you. If it was, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Check out some of my other videos including reviews and some funny let's plays. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.